Alright, it's time to create some battle text in Photoshop. And this is when you want some worn out, scratched up, cracked up text. You know, something you want to plaster on the side of a Jeep or a tank. Something that's been ran over 100 times. That's what battle text is. And so let's go ahead and get started, not waste any time. I'm going to come up here to File and select New. And for this image, we're going to go about 700 for the width. And for the height is going to be 250. Color and the background contents. Okay, the background of the image must be black, and if you have black as your background over on the toolbar here, then you can go ahead and set this and set the background contents the background color, and that'll go ahead and make it black when you create your new image. If not, then you'll need to fill in the image with the paint bucket, and in the color you use, make sure that it's black. So if you're all done there, come up to OK, and I'm going to go up here to View Actual Pixels, and let's get my image out here on the screen so I can see it. There we go. Okay, let's just jump right over here and select the Type tool and already start beginning our type or our battle text. And for the typeface I'm going to be using Compacta, and it's a popular, really common typeface you see everywhere, and it may be installed on some computers. I know there's a typeface called Impact, which is usually installed on most computers when you install the operating system, but look for Compacta and you can find it on the web, and the one that I'm using is Compacta BD-BT. And there's other different kinds of Compacta fonts. There's Compacta D, and there's a Compacta LTBT, which is more of it's sort of like a condensed, and more of a light version of Compacta. But I'm going to use a Compacta BD-BT, and that's set to bold. It's just a bold typeface automatically. But for the points, I'm going to do about 160, and I'm just use Sharp for the anti-alias. I'm going to come over here to the bottom left of the image and just click to bring up the cursor, and then go ahead and type out battle. Let's see, battle text. There we go. And when you like it, go ahead and press Enter on the keyboard. And then let's go ahead and center that text on the image. There we go, just like that. And now I want you to go up here to Select, and then choose Select All, and then go over here to Edit, Copy, Merged. All right, and then come over here to the Channels palette. Make the Channels palette visible. If you don't see the Channels palette, come up here to Window, and just make sure Channels is checked, and it'll appear there in Photoshop. And then come up here to Edit, and then select Paste. And we'll paste that. To select the battle text, hold down the Control key, and on the Macintosh that is the Command key, and click on that channel, and you'll load the type there as a selection, and that's exactly what we want. Apply some filters to this battle text. Okay, and the first filter, come right up here to the filter menu, and down here where it says texture. And for this filter here, turn the spacing up to about 60. If it's not already on 60, just go ahead and enter in 60 for the crack spacing. And the crack depth, let's go about 10. That'll work just fine. And the crack brightness, you can just leave that on 0. Now you'll get different crack results by adjusting the spacing slider up here. If you have like larger battle text, or if you have smaller battle text, you might want to decrease the spacing and then increase it for larger text or images that are more of a higher DPI. But anyways, if you have all that, go ahead and click OK. Let's go back up to Filter again, and down here to Texture again, and select Grain. And we're going to apply some grain here. And for grain, let's go ahead and set the intensity to 91 and the contrast 72. And the grain type should be vertical. All right. If you have all that, go ahead and click OK. And let's go right back up to Filter, and then down to Sharpen, and then select unsharpen mask or unsharp mask, and then where the amount is, enter in 190, and for the radius will be 0.3, and then for the threshold we can go ahead and leave that at 0. That'll be just fine, and we need to click OK. Now let's go back to the layers palette and click on the type layer that we created, and now make it invisible. Just for the time being, go ahead and make that invisible, and now make a new layer on the layers palette, and let's load the channel that we created. There's two ways this way on the CD yet, so I'm going to go ahead and do it right now, but another way to load the channel, let's go ahead and do it this way, and go down to load selection, and where it says channel, select alpha 1. That is the channel that we created. It's the channel we applied all those filters to, so we're going to load that into one of the layers on the layers palette. So go ahead and select alpha 1 and then click OK, and you can see we see the filters that we applied to it. It's also selected those effects too, which is really cool. Now we need to fill this, and there's a few things we can do this. If white is currently your foreground color like this, a fast way to do this is to hold down the Alt key and then press the backspace key with white. Now in the Macintosh, that is the Option key and the Delete key. Okay? To select and deselect the text. And check it out, it's battletext. Battletext. If you want to do any colorizing to the battletext right now, now's the time to do it. Go up here to Image and come down, go to Adjustments and then select Hue Saturation and make sure Colorize is checked and turn down the lightness just a little bit, and you can see it start to colorize the battletext. You can turn up the saturation a little bit. This is just if you wanted a little color in your text, that's all it is, because you know, that is not actually a type layer that we're working off there, so it's not like we can just select the text and change the color. But you know, for just a really quick, easy way, this is the way we can do it. Turn up the saturation, battletext. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and just cancel out of that. I'm gonna use just white for right now. Okay, now this is where the little experimentation comes in. This is where your creative juices start to come into play. And the way to do this, we're going to continue making little effects on the battle text. And so come right over to the layers palette and make that battle text type layer, the one right above the background, make that visible again. Okay, and look at that. What happened to our battle text? It's gone. Well, actually, because we have white text on that layer there, we're actually just, you know, the top layer's seen through to the bottom, and so it's just all white now. But anyways, before we start the next step, let me open up one of the battle text images that I've done before. That way we'll have something to kind of work off of. And I want you to look at it here, and you can see it looks a little different than the battle text that we have. I'll go ahead and make this invisible there. You can see it looks a little different, okay? And that is because I did some airbrushing. I'm sorry, well, not some airbrushing, but, well, eraser. I used the eraser. I used one of the brushes with the eraser to erase away some of the type on the bottom layer to get this effect, like it's looking like it's a little worn out. We have light areas in the battle type, and we also have some darker areas. So we can do two things. You can leave it like this, and, you know, if you're happy with that, you can leave it like that, or we can go to that more of a kind of worn out, ran over with the car type look. So I'm going to show you how to do this effect here right now. I'm going to go ahead and move that out of the way, and just go ahead and select the one we're working on here for the tutorial, and make the battle text. Make sure you have the battle text type layer activated, and I'm going to actually right click on that type layer and rasterize that, because we're going to be editing that layer. And then click on the topmost layer, which should be layer number 1, and turn that down. Turn down the opacity just a little bit, just a touch there. About 62 will be just fine. Or actually, I might just put it about, I don't know, 77. That'll look good right there. Don't want to get carried away here. All right. Now this way of doing it is you're really putting where the scratches and worn out areas, you're applying them to the areas that you only where you want them to go. Okay, that's what this is all about. So we need to erase away. Click on the battle text layer. It's a layer above the background layer. It's the original layer that we created. And then come over here and select the eraser tool on the toolbar, and then come up here to the brushes preset picker and make sure that you're selecting it's like a rough style brush. And you can see the one I have selected here is highly recommended. Any of these, the ones way down here on the layers palette, if you have other brushes loaded right now, you can actually come up here and you can reset the brushes so you have loaded the default brushes in Photoshop, just to make sure we're both looking at the same brushes here. But anyways, if you come down here, let's see, here it is right here. It's kind of like a splattered brush, sort of. It's called dry brush. You can see it just says dry brush right there. And about 39 pixel radius will be just fine. You don't have to turn up the diameter at all. So if you see that brush, go ahead and select it. And there's actually one above that too. It's a 60 size pixel diameter brush, and it's a dry brush also, but it has a it's a little lighter than the one below it. But this one I find that works the best, and it's a more coarser dry brush. So I'm gonna go ahead and double click on that to select it. Now, make sure the battle text layer above the background, I just want to make sure that's selected. Make sure that's selected and you have everything. The top layer, you've lowered the opacity a little bit. We got to make sure that's all set up. And then if you've got that, then you're all ready to go. Just come right over the image and then press the caps lock key on the keyboard. Make sure that you can see the tip of the brush so you know what it looks like. You see that? See, this is like this. See, that's wrong. That won't work. We need to actually see what the tip looks like. So, and that's the caps lock key on the keyboard. Anyways, just come over to the type and then paint down, and you see that? You can just paint where you want the worn out area to be, and that's exactly how we did the bottom here. You can see I can go along the top, just along the top there, make the edges worn out, and then down the side. Looks like somebody cleaned it too much with 409 or something, and it's starting to degrade. It's wearing out. So just anywhere you want. Anywhere you want. You don't really have to click and drag. You can just tap the mouse and make these little worn out areas, little specks. So it's just not all white, so you don't have this one big white patch, because that doesn't look very realistic. You know, you have parts that are worn out and then you have parts that look brand new. That's not realistic. So, everything has to kind of match. That's what special effects are all about. It's all about realism, and it's one of the only things that I like to do. A lot of the graphics that I do, it's just, I don't know what it is. I have this thing about making things look real. I don't know what it is. But anyways, that's how you do it. Just tap. I can tap along and then hold down the mouse, drag down a little bit, and create a little scratch there. You can try to change the brush type. Come down here and change another brush. Now, sometimes the coarser brushes, they may erase away too much. It may make an area too dark. You might not want that. But I can come around here and just scrape along the bottom. Just make the bottom all worn out there, and top. There we go. I'll go ahead and undo that one. That looks pretty good right there. But that's the battle text, and it's so cool. You can, something you just want to put, like something you can put on a sign, like on a road sign, or something that's just worn out. You can make a logo out of it, and like you want to make a logo that looks like it's worn out for, I don't know, from some Jeep company or just some game thing or whatever. And it's just a really cool extreme text type of effect. And so enjoy that.